In recent years, the BRICS bloc, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has grown beyond its origins as an economic cooperation forum for emerging markets. With the recent inclusion of new members, such as Ethiopia and Egypt, BRICS has rapidly expanded its influence into agriculture. By striking new trade deals with key nations in Africa and Asia, BRICS is reshaping global food markets and challenging the West's long-held dominance in agricultural exports. This development could have profound implications for global trade, food security, and economic power. In this video, we'll explore how BRICS has upended Western control over global agriculture, the key deals they've struck, and what this means for the future of food production and distribution in Africa, Asia, and beyond. For decades, the West, particularly the United States and the European Union, has dominated global agricultural markets. This dominance stems from several factors, including advanced technology, large-scale mechanization, access to vast land resources, and significant government subsidies that have allowed Western farmers to produce food cheaply and export it worldwide. The US and Europe have long held the lion's share of the world's wheat, corn, and soybean exports, making them essential suppliers to nations across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Western nations have also used agriculture as a soft power tool. By controlling food supply chains and providing food aid through institutions like the World Food Program, the West has been able to exert influence over developing nations. This agricultural dominance has often marginalized emerging markets and developing countries, preventing them from competing on an equal footing. However, this Western hegemony is now being challenged by the rise of BRICS, particularly in regions like Africa and Asia, where new trade agreements and partnerships are giving these countries unprecedented access to global markets. BRICS nations have always played significant roles in global agriculture. Brazil, for instance, is one of the world's largest exporters of soybeans, sugar, and beef. India is a major producer of rice and wheat, while Russia is one of the top global exporters of wheat. China, with its massive population and growing demand for food imports, is a dominant player in global agricultural consumption. However, BRICS' influence in agriculture has been limited by the dominance of Western-led global trade organizations like the World Trade Organization, WTO, and the disproportionate power of Western agricultural subsidies, which often distort global markets. This imbalance has led BRICS countries to seek alternatives, using their collective economic clout to create new trade pathways and partnerships. The recent expansion of BRICS, with the inclusion of Ethiopia and Egypt, two critical agricultural nations, has further bolstered its power in this sector. Ethiopia, often referred to as the water tower of Africa due to its numerous rivers and fertile land, has immense potential in agricultural exports. Egypt, located at the crossroads of Africa and the Middle East, has been a major agricultural hub for millennia and remains vital to global food distribution. One of the most significant developments in BRICS' agricultural rise is its increased focus on Africa and Asia, where many nations rely on agricultural imports to feed their populations. The BRICS bloc has signed a series of landmark deals with African and Asian countries, aimed at enhancing food security, boosting local production, and reducing reliance on Western imports. In Africa, BRICS nations have been instrumental in investing in agricultural infrastructure. China, for example, has been heavily involved in building roads, dams, and irrigation systems across East Africa, enabling farmers in nations like Ethiopia and Kenya to increase their productivity. Similarly, Russia has expanded its agricultural exports to African nations, providing wheat and fertilizers at competitive prices, especially after Western sanctions limited Russia's export capabilities to Europe. These partnerships are mutually beneficial. African nations, eager to reduce their dependence on Western food aid and imports, are now able to access BRICS markets and technology. In return, BRICS nations are gaining a foothold in one of the world's fastest-growing agricultural markets. India and Brazil, too, have been expanding their influence, with India focusing on grain exports to East Africa, while Brazil has ramped up its beef and soy exports to both African and Asian countries. In Asia, similar trends are emerging. China and India, both BRICS members, are striking trade deals with neighboring countries like Bangladesh and Pakistan. These countries, historically reliant on Western food imports, are now turning to their regional neighbors for more affordable, accessible agricultural products. This shift is not only about food, it's about shifting power dynamics in global trade. One of the most critical aspects of BRICS's rise in agriculture is its focus on technology transfer and infrastructure development. BRICS nations have been heavily investing in agricultural technology, particularly in Africa, where outdated farming practices and limited infrastructure have hindered productivity for decades. For example, China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, has played a crucial role in developing agricultural infrastructure across Africa. Through investments in roads, ports, and irrigation systems, China has helped unlock the potential of Africa's vast agricultural resources. This infrastructure development is enabling African nations to increase their food production and export capacity, challenging Western dominance in global agricultural markets. Similarly, Brazil and India have been sharing their expertise in agricultural technology with African and Asian nations. Brazil's advanced techniques in soybean and cattle farming, for instance, are being adopted by African farmers, while India's expertise in grain storage and distribution is helping Asian countries improve their food security. These investments in technology and infrastructure are not just about increasing food production. They're about empowering emerging markets to compete with Western agricultural powerhouses. By providing African and Asian nations with the tools they need to succeed, BRICS is effectively breaking the West's stranglehold on global food supply chains. The rise of BRICS in global agriculture is already having a profound impact on Western dominance. As BRICS nations continue to expand their influence in Africa and Asia, Western countries are finding it increasingly difficult to maintain their hold on these crucial markets. For decades, Western agricultural subsidies have distorted global trade by allowing farmers in the US and Europe to export food at artificially low prices. This practice has often undercut farmers in developing nations, making it difficult for them to compete. However, with BRICS nations now offering competitive alternatives, many countries are turning away from Western food imports in favor of BRICS partners. This shift is particularly evident in Africa, where many nations have historically relied on food aid from the US and Europe. With BRICS nations now offering affordable food imports and investing in local agricultural production, African nations are becoming less dependent on Western assistance. This could have long-term implications for Western soft power in the region, as food aid has traditionally been a key tool of influence for Western nations. The US and Europe, already facing challenges from climate change and rising production costs, may struggle to maintain their dominance in the face of BRICS's growing agricultural influence. As more countries turn to BRICS for food security, the West's ability to dictate global agricultural policy will likely diminish. As BRICS continues to expand its influence in global agriculture, the world is witnessing a fundamental shift in how food is produced, traded, and distributed. With new deals in Africa and Asia, BRICS nations are not only challenging Western dominance, they're laying the groundwork for a more multipolar global food system. This new system, driven by BRICS's focus on infrastructure, technology transfer, and trade, has the potential to reshape global agricultural markets for decades to come. As more countries turn to BRICS for food security, Western nations will need to adapt to a rapidly changing global landscape. The question now is whether the West can keep pace with BRICS's rise in agriculture, or if the bloc's new deals with Africa and Asia will lead to the collapse of Western agricultural dominance. Whatever the outcome, one thing is clear. BRICS is no longer just an emerging market bloc. It's a global agricultural powerhouse. In conclusion, BRICS has fundamentally reshaped the global agricultural landscape by forging new partnerships with Africa and Asia. These deals, combined with investments in technology and infrastructure, have allowed BRICS nations to challenge Western dominance in global food markets. As we move forward, the growing influence of BRICS in agriculture will continue to impact global trade, food security, and the balance of power in international relations. What do you think about this agricultural shift? Could BRICS truly replace the West as the world's agricultural leader? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on global geopolitics and economics.